For my young athletes out there who are looking to play college, varsity, or even just trying to make it professionally at some point in your life, it's so important to have a good support system behind you. I'm not talking about one or two people. I'm talking about your friends, your family, people who you interact with on a day to day, not the people online, the people who are closest to you, the people who you can rely on. And I know I harp on him a lot, but LeBron and how he has achieved so much greatness in his career and his life. He's minimized the distractions. He doesn't bite the cheese. He doesn't take the cheap route. He has a great support system, and I love how he talks about this in this video. Let's check it out.
I have the luxury of having an unbelievable wife and help around the household to where they allow me to be able to use all my time while I'm playing the game. And listen, I know when I'm done playing the game, that time will be priority number one will be my wife. It will be my wife, my kids, you know, and I just thank them for allowing me to have me as priority number one while I've had this profession.
That's great.
And I love that he thanks his wife and his kids. Shout out to Savannah James. She is honestly the real MVP, holding him down since high school and them being together as a consummate family and seeing the way they raise their kids, man, that's commendable. It speaks loudly because it's easy. He's one of the most polarizing figures in the world. He's 6'9", for God's sakes. Like, he's a tall being. He stands out like a sore thumb. But one thing that's consistent about him, he's a huge family man, and he just talks about it. And I love how he sticks up for his kids. We all know that Stephen A. incident, LeBron after the game, and how what went into it, and how he was defending his son, and all the criticism Bronny's got. But one thing about LeBron is he loves his family, and I love that so much because it allows him to be great on the court without having distractions off the court, which we know a lot of athletes have gotten in trouble for.
They've allowed me to do that. And I know it's not always been like this and it's been, amazing, but they've allowed me to make myself priority number one in my profession of how I treat my body, how I do things, how the hours that I put into it in order to be the best I can be. And it's only right I give that back when I'm done.
But it doesn't work otherwise, right? Like you have
not if you want to be not if you want to be amazing, not if you want to be great.
If you want to be great, or you want to keep playing,
or you want to keep playing,
right? You want to extend your career beyond where you're supposed to play. That balance, like how you handle the stability of home life, but you have to be selfish. Right. So, and the family has to understand, like selfish is the wrong word. Committed. I'm committed to my craft, my career.
And I love what Steve Nash was talking about, the commitment, right? Because being a top athlete in any endeavor requires commitment. And that's why I say your inner circle matters so much, because they have to understand that when you're committed to a journey, especially in sports, you need all hands on deck. Your family, your siblings need to know that, hey, I'm going to be training a good amount of time. I'm going to be missing out on certain events because I want to get my body in shape. I'm going to be taking care of I can't go out to the club. I can't drink with you. I need you guys to all be on board if we're going to make this right. Because selfish might not be the best word, but it might be one of the best you could say right then, because you have to be selfish about your time because it's only very limited throughout the day. You got to be selfish about your attention because you want to be focused on your craft. The last thing LeBron wants to be worrying about is game day, is arguing with Savannah, his beefing with his kids, and all this other nonsense that doesn't need to happen, because at that point he's worried about everything else but the game, and the game is a daunting game. Sports is something that if you're not sharp, if concentrating on what you're doing in that exact moment, it's easy to get away from you.
But that family stability gives you a platform, right? Where you're not worried, like, we're good over here. Right. I can go to work and do my thing.
It definitely it's worked wonders, man. It's been amazing. I've picked the right woman, and I've the kid.
Man, hey, you see what he said? I picked the right woman, because I love my ladies out there, and I think that having a right woman only adds value to a man's life. He who finds a good thing, he who finds a wife finds a good thing, correct? And for a lot of us fellas, we know whatever's glitter and gold, right? That saying just kind of means that There's a lot of eye candy out there, but you need soul food. You need something that's gonna nourish your body and only elevate your life. Don't choose somebody that you want, choose somebody that you need, who's gonna hold you down, that's gonna allow you to be the best man that you can be, so you can, A, elevate yourself as well as your family and your friends. But if you're only going for eye candy and, everything that makes you feel good at the moment, you're gonna run into some issues. So, man, just take that as a notice of your woman matters, and you don't need 10,000 women. You get you one solid thing, and I promise you, she gonna amplify you way more than anything else you can look for in these streets.
Kids have come along and they've, accepted the fact of what I wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
And I've tried to just pour into them when I have the ability and do the things that I can as a father. But I've always wanted to be as great as I could be. I never knew what it was I never knew what it looked like, but I knew my craft and I knew my passion for wanting to be great.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the end result was. And that goes back to what we first talked about when we first started. This was the process.
Right.
I knew I was in love with the process. And I didn't know what I was going to get out of the process. But all I've seen as I've grown up and when I've played the game of basketball, that when I fell in love with the process, rewards was at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
That was a bar. That was a bar. That's not a basketball bar. That's a life bar. That's a biblical bar. Falling in love with the process. Falling in love with the everyday, mundane, monotonous, boring grind. And for LeBron James to say, when I fell in love with it is when everything started falling in place. It honestly should be encouraging for a lot of people. In whatever endeavor that you're trying to start, whatever endeavor that you're trying to break into, fall in love with the process. I always say this, give yourself at least a year. Nothing is gonna, you don't want to be a one-hit wonder. You don't want to be an overnight sensation. You want to be somebody who's built a solid foundation through hard work, systems, and processes that allow you to be great. That's what you want. The end result is just going to be the icing on the cake. But once you fall in love with the process, once you fall in love with the grind, once you fall in love with working consistent, I promise you, progress is what you crave. Have you ever had that instance when you've wanted something so bad you finally got it? Whether it's you ordered it on Amazon or you went and picked it up and it was kind of like, that's cool. The high and the energy from when you first got it, it's cool for the first couple of days, maybe weeks, and then it's kind of. But when you work for something, when you saved up all your money to get it, when you put down time, effort, blood, and sweat to get something, man, you love that a little bit more. That just feels better. You have better fulfillment in it, understanding like, man, because at the end of the day, it's not the thing that you cared about the most. You prove to yourself that you could put your mind to something and manifested an object of service or a goal that you have achieved. And that is what you're going to find true joy in. So when I tell you, when you want something bad enough, as E.T. said, as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful.
And I've never worried about, it was never the other way around. It was never, the rewards are at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And then I worry about the process. Sure. It was always about the process.
Your reward was the process.
My reward was the process.
Yeah.
You heard him say the reward was the process. If you ever played on a sport team, you understand that the pure joy and enthusiasm of winning a championship, or whether it's a division crown or a state, whatever it was. But when you talk to the guys 10 years, 5 years, a year later, you talk about the game, but you talk about the season. You talk about the highs and lows, the ebbs and the flows. That's what you talk about. That's the conversation that you really find joy in, because it's like, man, remember that time remember that time we overcame? Remember the time we were busting our butt in 110-degree heat, doing double days? I don't think they do them these days. These kids are a little soft, but I'm just saying, there was a moment in time where you have most guys, they talk about the process. The end result, the championship was great. But what you remember is the journey along the way.
I mean, honestly, it's a great example. Your family,
Yeah.
the way you've been able to manage both. Your family's helped you build a platform to strive for greatness
Yeah,
constantly.
absolutely.
And that's just, I mean, I think one of the greatest parts about your career is not like the Wikipedia page, right? It's like the way you've done it. Like, man, I've made thousands of mistakes. Like, I don't know, have you made a couple? I don't know. Like, you've done so much, so long in the spotlight. I love that example for people out there, for society, for kids. So that's kudos to you and your wonderful wife and family, and your kids represent your family incredibly well too.
I'm glad that man, LeBron, like you said, love him or hate him, you got to appreciate the greatness that he's done and how he's done it and done it the right way and been a man and been humble about the greatness he's done. So for my athletes out there that are wanting to be great, get in love with the process. Get in love with the process and find a great support system and find a good woman. Those three things are going to elevate you way farther than you think. So for us, we're so right now focused. We're so instant focused. I need it now. Fall in love with the process and everything is going to fall in place. You can use that in any aspect of your life. That could be biblical, in your spiritual life, in your mental life, in your physical life. And this not just applies just to athletes. Fall in love with the process every single day. That is where you're going to find true fulfillment in anything that you do. It's not going to be in the end goal. It's not going to be in the reward and the achievement. The achievement feels good. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But understanding that the journey that you're going through and how it's molding you to become who you need to be, that is where the true joy and happiness comes from. So if you love this kind of content and you want to see more of it, please like, share, subscribe. And we're going to go on this journey. We're going to find videos that only elevate us. We're going to find videos that push us. And we're going to find some controversial ones here now and there too. But let's grow together. Thank you.